This morning, I was on my daily morning walk and I was trying to pay extra attention to what my intuition was telling me. Okay. I was just walking and I chose streets based on how they made me feel. I wanted to go that way. I went that way. And then my intuition told me to go that way and I went that way. And at some point, even I thought I wanted to go a certain way. I started to cross the street, but then I felt to myself, I actually really don't want to go this way. And I turned around and I went back and I changed my mind. Okay. And later, when I got home, I started writing in my journal about this experience. And I came to the conclusion, I said to myself, you are allowed to change your mind anytime you want. Let that sink in. You are allowed to change your mind anytime you want. And this is something that I struggled with a lot in my life, okay? Because I would not trust my intuition. So I would say yes to things that I actually didn't even have the time to process, okay? I said yes instantly without even thinking about whether I wanted to do it or not because I thought that the other person would want me to say yes. But then after saying yes, I immediately felt like, what did I do? I actually didn't want to say yes. I actually didn't want to do this. My intuition tells me that this is not what I want, but I was so scared to change my mind because I already said yes that I just went with it. And that caused me to cross my own boundaries very regularly. Okay. I cross my own boundaries all the time simply because I thought that other people wanted me to say yes to things that I actually didn't really want to do. Okay. But the problem with that is if you cross your boundaries repeatedly, you'll start to lose respect for yourself. Okay. And that is exactly what happened with me. I started to lose respect for myself, and that caused my relationships to suffer because people also didn't treat me with respect. Okay. The only way you can actually be treated with respect, the only way you can truly gain respect from others is by respecting yourself. Okay. Because once you respect yourself, you get the respect that you need. It's a universal need. I believe that one of our core needs is to feel and be respected. Okay. So if you can give yourself that respect, you're no longer dependent on other people's their respect. So you can act in a way that is according to your own values, in alignment with who you are, your authentic core. And you, since you respect yourself, you're not dependent on other people's validation, on other people's respect. And that paradoxically, strangely enough, is going to lead you to be more respected by others. Because if you're trying to gain the respect from others because you are not giving yourself the respect you need, you are dependent on other people to give you respect, you will abandon yourself, which is in and of itself not a respectful behavior. Okay. People can trust you if you do that. Okay. People can trust you if you're constantly abandoning your own values. Okay. Because you are not centered, you're not strong, you're not dependable. Okay. So people lose respect. But you try to gain their respect by saying yes to them, by changing your personality, by trying to please them. But the opposite is actually happening, and you lose more and more respect for yourself. So the only way to turn that around is by starting to respect yourself and to understand that it's okay to change your mind. Okay. It's okay to say yes and then realize, actually, I don't want to do that. And then say that you made the wrong decision. You actually feel like you don't want to do that. And I was terrified of doing that when I was younger. Okay. I felt like, okay, now I said yes. And now I actually feel like I don't want to do it. But now I'm afraid to say no because I feel like they will lose their respect for me, or they will think that I'm inconsistent or not trustworthy. Okay. But the act of saying honestly that, hey, I was a little bit fast with saying yes to this and I didn't really think it through. And now when I check in with my intuition, it kind of tells me that I don't really want to do this. So would you mind if we, I don't know, reschedule or do something else or just cancel? Okay. It's okay. And people respect you more for it because they know how difficult it is to admit that you actually don't agree with something, or to admit that you actually changed your mind. It's really difficult because we want to stay consistent with our line of thinking. It's a form of cognitive bias. Okay. Cognitive dissonance is when your reality is not stroking with what is going on in your mind. Okay, so if you want to believe that you are a trustworthy, dependable person, and you make a commitment to something and then you change your mind, it feels like you are not really dependable, it feels like you're not really committed. But it's not about that. It's a deeper thing. It's a deeper thing, because you are abandoning your own values by saying yes to something that you intuitively feel you shouldn't do. Okay, and me realizing this was so healing. And on this walk this morning, it almost became like a visceral experience for me. I went a certain way. I felt I don't want to go this way. I turned around and I went the other way. And I would have never done that before when I was younger. I would have never done that because I felt like it's wrong for me to change my mind, because people will lose their respect. People will think you're not trustworthy. But it's not about that. It's about stating yourself honestly and by honoring your intuition. And of course, you don't want to go around changing your mind all the time. If you make a serious commitment to something, you want to stick to that commitment. That's equally as important. But if you say yes because you think that other people want you to say yes, but it's not actually in alignment with what you want, then it is so much better to actually admit that and say, and it's so difficult. I know it's truly scary to do that. I've told my friends, hey, I actually felt like I had to say yes because I didn't want you to think that I'm boring, or I didn't want you to lose your respect for me. But I actually feel deep inside that I don't want to do this. So I'm not going to do this. And it's so scary to do that because you feel like they will judge you for that. And it is because you're judging yourself for this. You're judging yourself for saying yes when you kind of knew you didn't want to do it, but you did it because you were afraid of other people's judgment, right? So that is a very toxic behavior. And the only way to revert that behavior is by starting to pay more attention to your intuition and gradually changing that, gradually reversing that. Okay, initially you will still say yes out of habit, you will still agree with certain things out of fear of judgment. Okay, but once you start to commit to reversing that behavior, okay, every time you say it, you make the commitment to actually correct it. Okay, you can make this commitment today to correct whenever you say yes to something you actually intuitively feel like you should not say yes to. And when that realization comes a little bit later, you correct it, you commit to correcting it. That is going to cause you to gain so much more self-respect, and it will gain you the respect of others too, because they know how difficult it is and how much courage it requires to actually admit that. Okay, it's really, really difficult and it's very, very scary. But I can assure you, every time I succeed, I feel very good about myself, okay? And the more you get used to this, the less people will find it strange, okay? Initially, I felt very insecure about it, very cautious. I was like, actually, I said yes there, but I actually don't really want to do it, and I hope you don't mind, but, could we just reschedule it, or could we do something else? Because, very, very apologetic, very ashamed, very scared. And then people are like, well, that's weird. Well, okay. And then they kind of like judge you for it because you were judging yourself as you were saying it. Okay. But the more you get used to saying unapologetically what you want, and that you actually, in fact, change your mind, and that is okay. Okay. Install this mindset. You can change your mind anytime you want. You are allowed to change your mind anytime you want. And it's fine. Okay. It's not a crime. It's not a disrespectful thing to do. Okay, if you do it with the right intentions, of course, if you do it with disrespectful intentions, then it is a disrespectful thing to do. But I know that you are not this type of person. You do this because you said yes to something that you actually don't want to say yes to. And so committing to your own intuition, your own truth, that is the most respectful thing to do, because that shows you respect yourself. And the more you do that, the more people will give you respect in return. It is like this. It's an upward spiral, or it's a downward spiral, depending on where you're at. Okay, so I wrote down in my journal literally this: respect yourself more, have less need for other people's respect, feel less scared of losing their respect, act more in alignment with who you are, be more true to yourself, have stronger personal boundaries, be and act more respectable, gain more respect from others, not less. Okay, so the more you respect yourself, the more you tune in with your intuition, the more you align your actions with that, the more respect you will gain from others, because it is the most respectable thing to do. And if you take everything into consideration and you know that your intentions are clear and that you are genuine and authentic, that is in fact the most respectable thing to do. So to repeat this once more, to really drill this into your subconscious mind, you are allowed to change your mind anytime you want. And you don't need to apologize for it. You don't need to say sorry for it. You can unapologetically change your mind. You are truly allowed to do that. Okay? So if you feel like this message and video was somewhat helpful to you, feel free to scroll down and click the subscribe and the post notification button. It's truly a win-win for both of us, because you get notified whenever I post new content like this, and I get to see whether the message that I'm spreading resonates with you. Okay, I want to thank you so much for your attention, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.